And scary Christmas, everybody. This is Craig.
And this is Ash.
And tonight we're going to look at some scary legends of Christmas. And we start right now. And now that spooky season is sort of over and we start the Christmas season, even though it's not really Thanksgiving yet. Merry Christmas, Miss Ashley.
Merry Christmas. And the spooky season continues all year round, really.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
yeah, and there's a lot of spooky topics associated with the holidays. And so we're gonna talk about a lot of those things like haunted Christmas legends, the winter solstice, and some reports of paranormal activity during holiday celebrations. So
Yeah. And
yeah.
as you can see, we're all decked out, and I've got my light up Grinch shirt. So
I got my snowflake pajamas.
so we're ready for hot cocoa and a scary movie.
Yeah. Let me get the live pulled up over on the side. So give
Okay.
me just a moment.
All right.
Okay, so I've got the chat pulled up. Jeremy says hello.
Hey, Jeremy. Hope you're having a great early Christmas holiday. Yeah. We still got a week before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
But so we're going to be talking a little bit about the Yuletide spirits, literally. So, Ashley, you want to start us off?
Well, let's see. Let's start with the haunted history of Christmas traditions.
Okay.
And so, you think about telling ghost stories and, sitting around a campfire and sharing spooky stories around, Halloween and all that. But really, there's a huge tradition that started of ghost storytelling at Christmas.
Right.
Because it started kind of like during the Victorian era, and that people couldn't travel then as easily as they can now to maybe visit family and stuff. And so back then, Christmas was usually like the only time some people got to see their family members. So everyone would get together and they would all gather around and tell ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
And one reason that became so popular during that era was, the surge of popularity with A Christmas Carol, which was Charles Dickens' story. And so, and also one thing before I think he published A Christmas Carol, he also published an article that he always shared just spooky stories, and it was always around like the Christmas edition issue of like the magazine, and so that just became really popular. And so you when you get together with your family at Christmas, be like, hey, let's gather around and tell ghost stories.
Exactly. Hey,
Everybody might
that's
look
what we
at you
do.
like, but it's actually a thing. So and one thing I did want to talk about is Charles Dickens specifically, because he kind of got that tradition going. And so everybody is familiar with A Christmas Carol, right?
Right.
So, Charles Dickens. So Charles Dickens, he published A Christmas Carol in 1843, I believe. And everybody kind of knows what that story's about, so I'm not going to go all into it. But basically, it's about these three spirits. So they're Christmas past, the ghost of a Christmas present, and the ghost of Christmas future. And one thing that's really fun I wanted to share was a couple of pictures. Where I live, they do like a Dickens Christmas in my town, and so it's usually the first week of December, they turn like the whole like downtown into like the Victorian era, and everybody like dresses up, and they have, we don't get much snow here, so they have like fake snow coming over the buildings, and they have a lot of characters walking around like Father Christmas, and everybody's dressed up. And so my family usually goes every year. And one thing that's really fun is they have a house there that I believe Charles Dickens actually stayed in one time. So it's a really old historical home. And during the Dickens Christmas celebration, they open it up and do like tours and stuff. And so one year we went and did a ghost tour there. And so this is a picture of us during the Dickens celebration, and we went in and took a selfie in the haunted mirror. And
That is
and so
awesome.
yeah. So we find ways to celebrate the paranormal
Oh,
even during Christmas celebrations.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think we have a couple of investigations set up through the Christmas season, so that's going to be pretty cool.
And actually, this house, I think David from Tuscaloosa Paranormal Research Group, everybody knows, uh, that David said, I think that's the very first location they ever investigated
Oh
as a
wow!
group.
Oh, I
So a
didn't know
long
that.
time ago.
It was
And
long before I got there.
yeah, yeah, that was. I wish we could get it set up to do that again. That would
Oh,
be really cool.
set it up. We'll do
Yeah.
it. And then you have this picture.
And that's my daughter Lexi, and she is with the man who dresses up as Father Christmas every
Mhm.
year. And so, yeah, that's always so much fun. I love seeing everybody dress up because y'all know I love dressing up and cosplay or Halloween, whatever it is. And so I love costumes, and so I love going to that and everybody like being in character,
Right.
and so it's really fun.
That is pretty cool. And the picture itself is not your traditional, what you would call, Santa Claus. It's Father
Mhm.
Christmas.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was going to talk about tonight is, I speak Spanish and English and Norwegian.
Mhm.
So I had to, do a little trip to Norway and talk about some of the Norwegian traditions. And really, all of our Christmas traditions come from Iceland, come from Norway, come from all of those just beautiful, festive, cold areas of Scandinavia, and Norway is just absolutely Christmas land. Norway, Iceland, that's just totally Christmas land.
And that's on my bucket list to
Oh
visit one day.
yeah, Norway is absolutely amazing. So tonight we're gonna do a little bit of Norwegian lessons. You ready? All right. So talking about Christmas, Christmas in Norwegian is jul. Jul. So repeat jul.
Yule.
Yeah, jul, jul. So god jul,
Gulyu.
god jul. So god jul is of course Merry Christmas. So god jul, Ashley.
Gulyu, Greg. I can't say it.
Tusen takk for det. Jeg er glad for det jul. And as you see in this Christmas card, trolls and not leprechauns. That's Ireland, but trolls and I love
No.
this. I love this picture. This is one of
Yeah.
my favorites right here. Here's another word for you. Julaften.
Julaften.
Julaften is Christmas Eve. And we're going to get to some of the traditions of Christmas Eve very soon. What is your favorite part of Christmas? Of course, is julgaver. Julgaver.
Julgaven.
Julgaver. So those are Christmas presents. So gave, in gave is a present. So julgave, Christmas present.
Uh-huh.
And of course, the Christmas presents, the julgaver, are under juletre. Juletre. Try that word.
Jultreve.
Juletre. Juletre. Yeah. So juletre. So 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 you got to realize that the traditions, the Norwegian Christmas traditions, go way back before Christianity, way back before what we call Santa Claus and all of that. And on Julaften, what was Julaften?
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve. Norwegian families will typically decorate the juletre,
Tree.
adorning the branches with, like hand-woven baskets with lights, and especially Norwegian flags. So you see a lot of Norwegian flags on Christmas trees. And you don't, sort of like in the US, you don't see a lot of American flags on Christmas trees.
Yeah.
It would be a little weird. But in Norway, that's just part of Christmas decorations. And when you really think about it, the Norwegian flag has so many Christmas colors anyway, so it actually looks pretty nice. But one of the coolest things that you're going to find on a juletre is something called the Julebuk. Julebuk. So the Julebuk is the Christmas goat, the Yule goat. So Yule, Christmas. So the Yule goat. Now, Norse mythology, goats were associated with Thor, and they were thought to have like magical powers. All right, so traditionally, this is made out of the last stalk of the year's harvested corn. And it's saved, the grain, everything is saved, and a festive goat for the Juletre every year is constructed and built, and they thought it would keep the evil spirits at bay. Also, the last stalk of corn is legend has it that it holds all of the energy of the harvest. So this is how they do that. Now, another very cool thing that they do at Julegaver, or Liden Julegaver, Lille Julegaver, which is the night before Christmas Eve, they go let me see. Before that, I want to show you this picture that I found. This is someone dressed as Julebuk and walking around in the snow, and I'm like, yeah, I want this costume so bad.
Yeah.
But here's a postcard with the Julebuk on there, and he's not a threatening character. Now, back in the day, it was said that someone, like during a festive party, someone would be, basically hired to carry around a goat's head and burst in goat skin and scare everybody in the at the Christmas dinner. But they don't really do that. Instead, they do something called Julebuking. Julebuking. And this is an old photo of Julebuking. Basically, it is a marriage of Christmas and Halloween. Yes.
That is so creepy looking.
Yeah, I know. This is so cool. Now, it has changed over the years. And originally it was part of pagan celebrations where a person would carry, like I said, would carry a goat head, dress in goat skin, and burst in on parties. Norwegians, we just do things different. So Julebuking, of course, now it looks a little bit different. Look at these adorable faces. So, now we have more traditional, or not traditional, but more commercial costumes. But trolls, witches, traditional dress, things like that is usually what the kids would dress up for Julebuking. And they would go from door to door. And it wasn't really a trick-or-treat situation. They would try to disguise their voices and their neighbors. This is a community gathering thing. So this is something that really builds community. But the neighbors would try to guess who they were. And if they guessed who they were, the kids got candy. So it is, it is trick-or-treating. And they still do this in some Midwestern towns in the United States. So there is a tradition of Julebuking in different states. Some adorable reindeer, and this is a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
But I think it's just it's just too cute. So some kids, and what I notice is the rosy cheeks, because it is cold in Norway.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool tradition, and we need to bring that to Birmingham so that we can go Julebuking and get candy for Christmas. I mean, who doesn't want it? They even decorate lawns and everything. So let's see. Let me see if there we go. So so there's a Julebuk, basically a Christmas tree Julebuk in a yard. So it's got some really. Norway is just a fabulous land of magic. Trolls and fairies and
Mhm.
and Yule, and it's just really cool.
Yeah. So another one that it kind of goes along with like some of that the folklore
Mhm.
of the goat and everything is the Yule cat
Right, and this comes
and
from
so
the land of
Iceland.
Iceland. Very cool, very cool.
And so the Yule cat is a large and terrifying feline from Icelandic folklore, and it's actually whereas the goat, the Yule book, is that what it's called? It's considered a friendly something. The cat, the Yule cat, is more along the scary side of it, and so
Right.
people would use the Yule cat to scare children into submission. It's kind of like what we do with if you're naughty, Santa's going to put coal in your stocking. Well, the Yule cat would pretty much drag you to hell. So their lore was a little bit more terrifying and traumatic for children.
As it should be.
Yeah.
I
you know
they even put up huge like community statues for these are pictures of the Yule cat in Iceland, a big statue, which is actually beautiful. That is
yeah.
truly, truly cool.
See,
Cool. They are kult. They are very kult. Yeah,
yeah, and
look at that.
I love cats, and so this would actually be, something I would enjoy,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
doing at Christmas.
Unless the cat is that big. Now, if the cat
Yeah,
is that big, you might have an issue with it. But this
yeah,
has found its way to every aspect of Icelandic life, even down to tapestries, old tapestries
mhm.
with the Yule cat on there.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of gained popularity. Like it's had a resurgence, like in the more like modern years, and so now there's even some places I think here in the U.S., but
Mhm.
even there that have now started doing like parades and stuff like that with like the Yule Cat and even Christmas parades that here that have like Santa in it and stuff. A lot of times you'll see towards the end of a parade they'll have like Santa riding on a
Yeah.
sleigh. But if you pay attention, a lot of times part of the parade you might see someone dressed up kind of like as a cat. A lot of people might not know why, but then also Krampus. I've
Uh-huh.
seen some parades where you have a Krampus
Right.
in there, and which kind of leads us to our next thing, which
Right.
is Krampus, and that Krampus is my favorite. Absolutely, I love Krampus, and so Krampus. If I'm sure most of you are familiar with Krampus, but he's kind of like the anti Santa
Right.
Claus, and so he's a horned demon figure that was kind of originated from Central European and pagan folklore, and he too, like the Yule Cat, if you people would threaten their kids with if you're naughty, Krampus will come, and if you're good, you'll get gifts from Saint Nicholas. If you're naughty, Krampus will, again, drag you to hell. And so, um, but I don't know. I think Krampus is probably one of my favorite folklores because I think also I love the movie. And if any of you have not seen the movie, and I can't remember what year it was, but maybe like in the early to mid 2000s, it's such a good movie. It's like my favorite Christmas movie because it does kind of combine the horror aspect with Christmas magic. And it's, and this movie, it's so like, have you seen it?
I have. I have. I've seen
And
it a couple of times. I
yeah,
love it.
it's really goofy and, like,
Yeah.
cheesy with, like, some of the stuff, but it's like, it's still it's good horror, and I have to watch it every Christmas.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. That is it's become a Christmas movie now.
Yeah, like, a lot of
You've
people,
got
they have a list of Christmas
right.
movies like Elf or Home Alone or Santa Claus. Well, for me, Krampus is on that list that I've gotta watch every year.
Well, mine is Gremlins, Gremlins
Yeah,
2,
mhm,
Krampus, you gotta have those.
yeah.
Um, but it is awesome. Yeah, I love Krampus. I was gonna show you this as well. I don't know if you realize how popular the Yule Cat is, but it's also made its way onto a Hellboy cover. So so it seems they could have the Hellcat, maybe the pet of Mr. Krampus. You never know.
Yeah,
You never know. I think they could go together quite well.
yeah, they could team up together and, just that would be a pretty cool movie.
Yeah, a match made in maybe not heaven.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Um, but anyway, moving on to our next segment, we're going to talk about like reports of, real life holiday hauntings.
Mhm.
And so paranormal reports that are associated with Christmas.
And you have a story from 1986 about the Andrews family of Kentucky and some things that they've experienced. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And well, it actually ended up being a murder occurred with
Yes.
that.
And so let me just grab this. I'm just going to read this to you right here. So it was in 1986. So there was a family, the Andrews family, and they were in Kentucky, and they experienced intense poltergeist activity centered around Christmas gifts. After bringing presents into their house and placing them under the tree, the family reported hearing sounds of wrapping paper rustling in the middle of the night, and that gifts were found kind of rearranged each morning. Some some of the gifts were even like opened and stuff like that. So everything was just kind of like at a disarray
Mhm.
every morning. And so even when they would clean up at night, they would hear things during the night, wake up, and it was a mess. Um, and so the activity became more aggressive, and even objects like near the tree would be thrown across the room. Ornaments would just be shattered, and the lights would flicker, and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And so, a little bit of the background: the family reached out to a local clergy and a paranormal investigator. Um, and they suspected a spirit may be attached to one of the gifts because all of this activity started when, around Christmas when they had like the gifts and everything, like
Mhm.
I said. And so the clergy and paranormal investigator kind of, they were saying, something's been brought into the house, possibly an antique doll that was given by one of their relatives, and so it had been acquired from a secondhand shop. But um, I mean, how the fear of like haunted dolls and stuff like that
Oh yeah.
is. And so you bring a haunted or an antique doll into the home, you start having activity, you're gonna start wondering, especially like in the 80s around that time. I was trying to think. I know a lot of those old, the movies like Amityville Horror, and a lot of those movies were really popular stuff around that time, and
Mhm.
so it makes you wonder, like, would something like this, would they be doing it for to kind of like gain that fame or something? Like, how truthful
Right.
is the story? But there were supposedly like people who experienced the activity there in the house that really had no that they didn't live there or anything, like guests.
Yeah.
Um, like the paranormal investigator and people who would come in, they would also experience activity there. And so after they removed the doll, the activity stopped like entirely. And so everything kind of went back to normal. So it was only experiencing that paranormal activity the around Christmas, and then it went away once I got rid of that doll. So, you know?
Right, right. And there was also a similar one that turned out quite a bit differently. The same thing was happening. They were having Christmas gifts gone through, and a lot of noises, a lot of scratching, a lot of very classic paranormal activity. And the family was concerned. They brought people out, and it actually turned out to be someone living in their walls.
Mm.
And what had happened was the one of the daughters went on a date with someone, and they did not. It's one of the classic, hey, I was expecting someone different, so they went out on a date and he was like extremely weird, and she was like ended the date and everything. And like a week later, they started experiencing a lot of paranormal activity. And eventually it led to the death of, I believe, of her brother.
Mm.
But it was actually Daniel LePaine who had moved in and was living in the walls of their
Mm.
family home. They eventually caught him, arrested him, tried him, and these are a couple of pictures of his trial. And that is not something you want for Christmas. This is
Yeah.
definitely not a good end to a Christmas haunting. But that also shows as paranormal investigators, you can't always say, "Hey, everything's,"
Well, there's also a movie that I think was
is based.
inspired by
Yeah,
that. Have
right.
you seen The Boy?
Yeah, right, right.
And so if anybody hasn't seen it, I don't wanna, like, give too much away about it, but I feel like that story there inspired The Boy.
Yeah, and possibly people under the stairs, and
Mhm.
so
Jonathan asked in the comments, "Is that where Annabelle started?" So referring back to the haunted doll.
oh,
That's Annabelle. That's actually a whole different
mhm,
story, but that's another kind of thing that goes along with that point that I was making. A lot of those things were kind of becoming popular. So
right.
with cases like that, with somebody because it was one of those things like they started publishing articles and stuff about it. Um, and so, but I don't know that, but Annabelle is a different
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah. That started
Um,
with the Warrens, and they're the ones that made that very popular.
yeah, but yeah, back to the guy living in the wall. That's to me, that's so much scarier than
Than a
a
ghost,
ghost.
exactly, or a poltergeist, or a spirit, anything, anything.
Yeah,
We always say on an investigation, we're more scared of the living than the dead,
yeah,
which is why, you were not there, but the night that we went to Old South Pittsburgh, and we were, like run out in the middle of the night.
Mhm.
To this day, we cannot say that it wasn't a human, but we can't see, or humans, we just don't understand how it is a possibility that someone can be on the other side of a door with a huge window in it, shaking it violently, and you can't see them on the other side, or why you're hearing people run around in a dark abandoned hospital at that time, with only one area of it, wired for electricity,
Mhm.
and absolutely no flashlights, absolutely no, and doors just slamming, and it was a calm night, no rain. Uh,
Mhm.
but because of that level of activity that I have never experienced before in my life, and I don't know if I will ever experience it again, and with the number of people we had with us that experienced the exact same thing, I don't I don't see how that could have been human beings doing that. But at
Mhm.
the same time, that possibility still exists, because that night
Mhm.
was insanity,
Yeah.
absolute insanity.
And that makes me think of a location we went to, and we've told this story before, I believe, but and this is a private location, so I can't
Mhm.
say where.
Right,
But
right. Well, yeah, I know. Yeah.
there was a moment I was alone in one of the buildings, and I heard something rushing at me.
Mhm.
The and it was terrifying. I mean, I in the moment I thought someone was actually there, like a squatter or someone. Like I thought I was being about to be attacked by a literal person.
Mhm.
Um, and and the thought of that is so much scarier because then it's like, like Scott rushed in because I screamed and people, he checked everywhere. No one was there. Like it
Right.
wasn't a person. And that's when it's like, okay, well that's exciting then because it wasn't a person, it was a ghost.
Right.
And so, then you can be excited about it. But yeah, the
Mhm.
idea of like scary people is so much worse
Yeah.
than ghosts.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh,
Mhm.
Jonathan just said that in the comments about the time that I got rushed at the private location.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
um, but I do have a little story about something I experienced revolving around Christmas.
Mhm.
And so this was at not the house I live in now. It was a different house, and we were having some paranormal activity at that house, but it was only happening, or it started happening around Christmas. But one thing that was really weird is we had some like decorations and stuff, like some snow globes up on some shelves.
Hmm.
And I think Paxton was a little baby at this time, and like under a year old, and all the Christmas decorations would come on by themselves,
Hmm.
and the snow globes, which you have to turn, the dial,
Yeah.
the little handle thing on a snow globe. All of a sudden, it would start playing in like different ones, and that happened, only when we had our Christmas decorations out. And I asked the guy we bought the house from about, did he ever have, because we had only been in the house like, less than a year at this point. I was like, did you have anything weird happen? Because we kind of stayed connected for a while after we bought the house from him. And I kind of explained what was going on. And his mother, that passed away there at the house, loved Christmas.
Oh, wow.
He said so. Uh, I thought that was kind of interesting, and he
Yeah.
too, because it was like maybe that was her enjoying the Christmas decorations.
Possible.
So yeah.
Possible. Very cool. Very, very cool. And,
um,
and some of these old pagan, Norwegian, Icelandic, Swiss, Danish legends are still popular in our current Christmas traditions. Talk about that for me.
well, one thing I do want to point out is, um, this time of year, and talking about the back to the Victorian era, where it became very popular during that time to tell ghost stories at Christmas, and so why would another reason why that would be so popular is people, especially then, like they would believe that the veil
Yeah.
that separates our realm from the spirit realm is thinnest around the time of like the winter solstice. And so so also you got to kind of think about that, like a lot of these superstitions and things like come into play like around the winter solstice, and so Christmas and around the holidays is actually um that's one thing that makes that another, just a spooky element to it, or it can be like a spooky element. And so I did want to I wanted to, let me grab my talking points real quick. And so a little bit about the winter solstice.
Hmm.
It falls around December 21st, and it's the shortest day and longest night of the year in the northern hemisphere. And so across all of these cultures, and even kind of relating back to like all the folklore and all the creatures and stuff like that, a lot of people believe that around this time of year, those things are um, ideal. Like this time of the year is ideal for something that's more mystical or
Right.
whatever to
Yeah.
happen. And so it's believed that with the boundary between our worlds being at its thinnest, this is an ideal time for contacting spirits or honoring the dead,
Yeah.
performing rituals, and to gain insights and protection. And so a lot of the like different cultures and
Hmm.
stuff believe those things, and so
Hmm.
that's another reason why
Like Dia de los
that's
Muertos
popular, right?
in Mexico, and even though that's in November, right after Halloween, right in November, it's still within this season, within this
Mhm.
general time frame of the year, which is a celebration of the people who have come before. So with ofrendas and uh, pan de muerto and so many things with that, which is just a beautiful tradition. And we have a very very nice Dia de los Muertos uh, community party here in Birmingham every year. And next year you need to come with me. It's really nice. It's
Mhm.
definitely nice.
Yeah. Well, and going back to like some of the old like culture traditions, and things like that, like they would believe that this time of the year also was easier for dark spirits and negative entities to kind of cross over into our realm. And so kind of like what you were talking about, uh there's traditions, and you might could kind of call this like ritualistic, but there's traditions that go along with cultures that we actually still practice
Hmm.
today that we don't realize, but it stemmed or originated for warding off those evil spirits during the time that the veil is at its
Right.
thinnest. And so there's so many things like that we still practice. um and so if you kind of think about it, back kind of like for Halloween,
Right.
jack-o'-lanterns, it originated by people would carve out their jack-o'-lanterns and put a candle in it to illuminate it to scare off evil spirits.
Because days are
um,
getting darker or nights
yeah.
coming sooner. Yeah.
Mhm. And so Christmas decorations is kind of like the same thing. So uh Christmas wreaths,
Hmm.
that that is one thing that people we still do, and like it's just a common like traditional Christmas decoration. But really where that originated from was a solstice ritual, and it was for inviting good energy to kind of ward off all of the negative energy. And so it would be often used from like evergreens, and it would be a symbol of eternal life and rebirth, and people would hang it on their door during the winter solstice and invite positive spirits and
Hmm.
deflect negative ones. And in ancient pagan traditions, the circular shape of the wreath also symbolizes nature and seasons, the changing seasons, and the wheel of life. And today we simply use it for decoration,
Yeah.
but that's where that came from.
Right.
A few other things is like, lighting candles. And I know at Christmas, I know people light candles all the time, but like at Christmas, candles are that, dinner tables, and, you have your candles and everything. And, you use that for decoration, or you burn scents
Hmm.
like um, certain fragrances that are associated with the holidays, like, um, you know,
Apple
pumpkin
spice.
spice,
Yeah.
yeah,
Pumpkin
uh,
spice.
clove, cinnamon, things like that.
Hmm.
That ties into smudging
Hmm.
and smoke cleansing. And the candles too. A lot of times people would place candles because in the winter it gets longer nights. They'd put candles everywhere, even through the not just for light,
Right.
but to remove the evil
Negative
spirit,
spirit.
or
Yeah. Exactly.
create light so that the evil spirits couldn't come in. Um, and then the scents, you smell a certain scent, you're like, ooh, that smells like Christmas. It's because it became so popular for certain scents to be used during this time, because they believed those scents like cinnamon, clove, or just
Hmm.
whatever, it it cleanses the home from negative spirits.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
And then another one is decorating your Christmas tree.
Hmm.
And that right there, that's like everybody does that. So that's still just a tradition most people do. We decorate our Christmas trees. That all comes back, dates back to where it originated with these folklores and these um, beliefs. And so using a tree like holly or pine, or even like mistletoe to decorate a home, it all has ancient roots of warding off evil. Um, like a Christmas tree, the evergreen, it symbolizes resilience and life in the dead of winter. And displaying them during the solstice is thought to bring health, protection, and vitality to the household for the coming year. So, all of those things that we know as Christmas tradition all goes back to these ancient folklores and these cultures.
Right.
And yeah.
And it brings us to what we do today.
Yep.
And I love those connections. I love history. I love cultures, and it's great to see where we came from and where we are now. Even with Julebooking, uh, a marriage of Christmas and Halloween. And if you go to Norway and some of the Midwestern towns that still celebrate it now, you'll start seeing Iron Man and Spider-Man starting to creep up within the trolls and the witches and all of the traditional dresses.
Yeah.
So times change, but deep down we're all human. We all have the same fears of the dark, of when night starts coming at 3 p.m. instead of 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So it is nice. I love it.
And so during all the Christmas festivities and Christmas celebrations, next time you see the Christmas tree or a wreath or someone dressed up as a cat or something in a parade, just know that all
or
that,
you goat.
yeah, that relates back to the supernatural.
Exactly. And this has been a fun episode. This was a fun one to research and a fun one to produce and put on. So
yeah, because we love all things spooky, and to be able to tie in Christmas to spooky.
Exactly. What's not to love?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this may also we are going to take a little break for the holidays, because we're both traveling for the holidays and have a lot going on. So we will be coming back. We may be able to do one more episode. We haven't worked that out in the schedule yet, but before the New Year's. But if not, we will be back in the new year and with some new scares and thrills and ghost talk.
Yeah. And also, I do want to say, if anybody has any topics that you would like for us to discuss,
Yes, please.
let us know. And if you, you can put it in the comments or whatever, like on one of our videos, or you can email us, just whatever. Just, let us know what you would like for us to talk about involving like the paranormal or anything. And also, I wanted to invite people to, or ask people to share what others know that you think might enjoy spooky talk, or our episodes or whatever. Just invite people to our channel to subscribe, share, because we are getting close to that 500 mark.
Right. And we want to shoot right past it.
Yes. And so, tell your friends about us.
Tell your groups. We would love to get together with some groups and do some investigations. We're always with Tuscaloosa Paranormal Research Group. That is our home group. But we would love to branch out. We would love to have your groups on an episode. We would love to go with you to an investigation, see how you do things, and feature you on an episode. So if you have a group that would like a couple of tag-alongs and just have a good time and ghost hunt together, that would be amazing. And so it's all about, we are all about building communities. So that's one of our goals with this channel and with our show and with our podcast. So definitely drop a comment, like, and share, and reach out to us. And if you are having any issues, if you're having some paranormal issues, if you're having problems, reach out to us. We'd be happy to try to help. One of the things we're going to be sharing very soon is I was contacted by a news channel here and got to do an investigation with a reporter and all of that. So we'll be bringing that to you pretty soon. But we're always here to help, and we're always here to build community.
Yep. So everybody have a wonderful Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year. Maybe we'll be back before then, but if not, have a wonderful time, and don't forget to look for the spooky stuff.
Always.
Yes.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos or want to be a part of our live investigations, hit the subscribe button. Also, if you have any ideas for future investigations or want to share your own paranormal encounters, please feel free to leave a comment or send an email to crashmediaparanormal@gmail.com.